Jason Pritchard. How are you, baby?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, brother.
Excited to have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
We are fellow California
That's right.
investors.
That's
You're
right.
in Fresno. I'm in IE, Riverside, LA.
Yep.
But yeah, so you are a freaking beast.
We're trying, bro. We're
yeah,
trying, man.
yeah. So like for people who don't know who you are, like what you're doing in real estate, can you give us like a quick intro?
Yeah. So I started in real estate 2014. Prior to that, I worked in corporate America for 15 years. So I was like fully bought into, I think, the dream that we're all taught when we're growing up, right? Work hard, go to school, go to college. And then I got into sales and sales management pretty early on. I worked for 2 large companies. And I thought that that was going to be kind of my life and my background and my history. I thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder, make a couple $100,000 a year. And I found myself in a space in my early 30s where I was just unhappy with my job, unhappy with my life. I always was intrigued by the idea of real estate, but for whatever reason, I just never did it. And my wife and I basically sat down 2014. We said, hey, you got a year to figure this out. Burned all the boats, flipped the first house 2015, and haven't looked back since. So we've done probably 500 deals, own a rental portfolio, just over 100 units.
Damn.
And we're doing about 100 deals a year right now.
Dang.
Yeah.
So you got into real estate in your early 30s.
Yeah, 33. And so I'm
Isn't that
44.
late? I'm 33 right now.
That's what's crazy, dude. It's like I've always had this sense of urgency because I always felt like I got started late. So I see younger entrepreneurs like you that have been in the business for so long. And I'm like, dude, your guys' biggest competitive advantage, I feel like, is just time, dude. Time in the business, right?
Yeah.
And so you're 33 now, you've got all these reps in.
Yeah.
By the time you're my age, dude, like your trajectory is going to be like this. So I always feel like I'm starting from zero every single day. And I think that's a competitive advantage I have. It's just every day we get after it. I love what I do. And we work really hard at it.
How old are you right now?
43 right now.
Yeah. Dang, that's crazy. Yeah. Because I feel like I'm old in the industry. And then I feel like I see these like 21, 22-year-olds that are like crushing it. I'm like, what the hell, dude? I was like smoking weed and freaking partying when I was 21.
I feel like I wasted all of my 20s, basically. 20 to 30, I basically didn't do anything. So I look back with regret's kind of a strong word. I mean, it's all happens for a reason, dude. But, I look back and I'm like, damn, dude, I wish I would have. And I was always wired that way, dude. And that's what I think is cool about where we're at now is I think in the 90s and early 2000s, when I was a young entrepreneur, I wanted to be a young, we didn't have access to information like we do now. We didn't have social media. There wasn't YouTube. There weren't people out there like you and others that are like putting information out, right? So the blueprint and the access to the people wasn't there like it is now. So I think we give outlets to the younger people that want to really do what we're doing. So it's really cool to see.
Yeah. So what would you say? So you're doing 100 deals a year. What does your team look like?
We've got 16 people. About half of that team is virtual, and then the other half is based in Fresno. So team for me, my leadership team is I've got a director of acquisitions that runs our acquisitions department. We've got a COO that runs all the operations. We've got another person that runs the education portion of our business, and then they've got direct reports under that. So,
So what about, so let's just break down just the flipping and wholesaling company.
Yeah.
So acquisitions manager. Operations manager. And then who else do you got?
So underneath the acquisitions, we've got full-time acquisitions rep, full-time dispo rep, and then they've got an inside sales team that's all virtual. So we do direct mail is our biggest marketing channel as far as direct to seller stuff. PPC, PPL, we do some SEO stuff. So we've got trying to drive inbound traffic. So inbound leads will come to our sales team. They'll qualify it. Then they'll go to our leads manager. They'll set up appointments for acquisitions rep, and then they go out and close.
So you have one acquisition rep?
One right now, yeah.
Okay. And then the people below them, they're just like setters? Are they just setting appointments?
Yeah. And they're all virtual. Yeah.
Like in Colombia virtual or like?
No, Philippines virtual.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've had them forever, dude. We actually, my wife and I went to the Philippines to visit our most senior team a couple years ago, took them out, did team building stuff. So they work all internally for us. They've been with us for years. They help us on the operations and the admin side too. So like one of my senior VAs runs basically our entire rental portfolio along with our on-site maintenance staff and stuff like that.
Dang.
So yeah, dude, we've had them for a while.
What? Yeah. So I'll tell you how my company is. I got a COO.
Yep.
Right now I'm kind of leading the sales team.
Yep.
And then I have 2 senior closers.
Okay.
I have 2 guys coming up to try to add and make 4, but they haven't like established themselves yet. And then I have like 6 setters.
Yeah.
And then 2 marketing managers.
Okay.
And then 1 admin.
Okay.
But the interesting thing about your model is you're going to get way more profitable with hiring like virtual assistants. Like how much do you usually pay those people?
$6 to $8 an hour, and then some small bonuses depending on, you know, how they contribute towards the deal.
And then, so like, how do they work exactly? So are they for the sales VAs?
We call them inside sales agents. So they're fielding and first point of contact for all the new leads.
Damn, really? Isn't that kind of scary to have a VA talking to your leads?
It is, dude. And, you know, we've tried everything. It was me answering the calls, then the acquisitions reps answering the calls. The reason why I trust the team is because they've been with us forever. We train them, you know, both internal training and external training 3 to 4 times a week, right? We're monitoring their calls. We monitor speed to lead. We're spot checking literally and auditing every single call that they have. So we keep a very close eye on the team to make sure that very first touch is handled the right way, and then the baton is handed off to the people stateside the right way.
So how does it work? Lead comes in.
It simultaneously dials the entire inside sales team. First person to answer it. Our standard in our company is obviously we want to answer that call live, but if we happen to miss it, or it's a PPC lead or a PPL lead, you have to call that person back within a minute. So everything's time stamped. So we get the lead in and they got to call them back. It goes to the pool of agents. They qualify them. If it meets our standards for qualification, then it goes to our underwriting team. They quickly analyze the deal, and then it'll either go to a lead manager or an acquisitions rep, depending on who's available to. We like to do in-person. In-person works really well for us. And even though geographically we are, you know, we're in Fresno, you know, when we go 2.5 hours in every direction, our acquisitions reps are going on in-person appointments, like Fresno to Bakersfield. That's 2 hours each way, you know what I mean? And we're still sending them. So so we've just found that we can buy deeper, we get in better rapport with the sellers, and we're closing more deals, and we've got the team members to go out there and do it.
What CRM are you using?
Resimply.
Oh, okay.
We were on Podio. We were on a couple different custom versions of Podio. We went over to Resimply.
No one uses Podio anymore, bro.
Yeah,
that's like pre-pandemic.
It is. It was. That was kind of like us, dude. Yeah, and it was just very clunky. I didn't like the UI. It just didn't work the way we wanted it to, and we're very happy with Resimply.
Have you tried Go High Level?
We use GHL for the education business.
Okay.
So familiar with that. Very similar setup. I like that Resimply was more turnkey out of the box. I don't want to get into too many custom for the real estate business, I guess I would say, right? So it's got all the stuff that we need without having to go in and tweak too much. It's already kind of ready.
Do you do all the fulfillment on the flips and stuff in Resimply also? Or no?
We manage it as far as from lead to close deal. Then it moves over to this inventory tab, and that's when the COO and ops team kind of take over it there. So project manager moves it across different stages. You can assign tasks through there
in Resimply.
But we're not like with our flips. We've tried every single model, and what works better for us is working with general contractors that know our business model, that we know, like, and trust, that are going to give us pricing that makes sense, and then they manage the vast majority of it. So we're essentially managing them versus managing a million subs. It just that's not our strong suit, dude. We flipped a ton of houses, and like trying to do that is a nightmare. Yeah,
I mean, I do the same thing, but I'm talking about like managing it in a sense. Like in Resimply, it shows like, okay, it's listed. Okay,
it's all stages. So it moves from new inventory is what we call it, where we just close on it, then getting bids, then active inventory, then listed, then in escrow, then sold.
What about like in your CRM, how many dials are these lead managers making a day? Or are they only taking inbound leads?
The lead managers are only doing inbound. Our inside sales team, we also have them doing cold calling. They're using batch dialer for cold calling. So if there is not inbound traffic, then they're on the phone actually going up, calling. You know, we pull data from 80/20 along with some other places. So we have big chunks of data for them to call. And as far as number of dials, honestly, I don't know off the top of my head.
And they use Resimply to dial out?
No, they use batch dialer to dial out.
Batch dialer, sorry.
For our warm lead pool, people that are qualified, they're just not closed yet, then they'll call out of Resimply. So all the communication can stay in there, but outbound is done through batch.
Got it. Yeah. So I use Go High Level as a CRM. And then when we're doing like big dials, we use Ready Mode.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard it. We were on Call Tools for years.
Yeah.
And A year ago, maybe we were noticing lots of technical issues with connections. We're not getting people on the phone. We split test batch dialer for a little while, and my team really liked that. Our best callers were like, "Hey, we like the interface; it's better," and we've just moved over there. So
what about so? Man, I wish we did. I have a freaking another podcast, but usually these podcasts are 2 hours. So I'm like,
dude,
really
I'll come out, dude. Let me know, dude.
Yeah.
We'll come out and do
our office is up
event.
the street.
Yeah. It's a short flight from Fresno, bro. Yeah.
So usually we talk about marketing, acquisition, and then operation.
Yeah.
So marketing wise, how much are you spending on marketing? And then like, what are the different?
40 to 45,000 a month on marketing. The bulk of that is direct mail. We mail 35,000 pieces right now.
Okay. How much is that, you think?
We just switched providers actually, and it saved us like $4 or $5 grand. We're paying like 62 cents a piece for our check letter right now. I don't know what the math is. I think it's like 18 grand.
Yeah.
But the total marketing spend it usually fluctuates between 40 to 45. So it's
pretty cheap to
mail.
do 100.
Mail is one. PPC is two.
Who do you guys use for mail?
For like the fulfillment house or the data?
No, the fulfillment house.
We were with Yellow Letter HQ. I love Yellow Letter HQ, but then we recently went over to a company called Redstone. And I think you know Casey Ryan. So I'm in CG with Casey. So Casey actually recommended Redstone.
Funny.
Yeah.
So I was we have a guy named Angel Hernandez that works at our office. I just had Casey Ryan on my podcast.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it. Yeah.
And they were just talking to me about that thing. So that's funny that you brought that up.
So we did our very first drop with them in Feb. So I mean, the pricing was great. The piece looks identical. Yeah. So I think we're probably.
And then for data for your mailing, you use DataFlick or you use
80/20.
80/20. Have you tried DataFlick?
We haven't tried DataFlick. Just going. We used to pull all the niche lists. So we had one VA that was literally doing all of our lists in Radar. Then they would pull probate data. Then they would go to all the counties and get evictions and code enforcement. And finally, it was just too cumbersome because of like all of the work that was required. We did shop a bunch of people, and 80/20 just kept on coming up as like one of the top ones. We actually never talked to DataFlick. I think we may have talked to Audantic, but we ended up going with 80/20 last year. That's who we're using now. But I'm open to any recommendations, man.
Do you like 80/20?
It's worked. It's worked well. Yeah, ROI has been good. Yeah.
What about so Redstone, Data 80/20.
Yep.
Any other systems on mail?
The only other data that we get outside of 80/20 is from US probate leads. The probate data has performed very well. But outside of mail, not systems, I think it's more process oriented. So answering the phone call live, right? Like really working. Like, yeah, it is. Like, I mean, it's like people want the magic list and the magic whatever, but like they're not answering the call live. They're not calling them back if they miss the call, right? They're not acting with a sense of urgency once they qualify the lead to get it underwritten and get somebody back out there to talk to them, right? And I think all of that stuff has probably way more significant impact than the other, because everybody's using all the same stuff, dude. I feel like, you know what I mean? Everybody's using check letters. Everybody's using one of these data providers. It's just your ability to perform, I think, is the bigger thing.
It's like sales, consistency.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
What about like, what kind of ROAS or like KPIs do you track on just your mail?
We are going much more in depth this year. On mail, we were 3.5x return on ad spend last year, which I want to get up higher. It was interesting. I was talking with Casey, and he goes, dude, I was at your same level last year. And then I think he said he was at 10x ROAS on his direct mail, and he's using 80/22. So he connected us with his mail house provider and also with a sales trainer that he really likes. And so we're doubling down on some sales training with our team. And I think that's it. Our other, like, as far as ad spend, cold calling from direct outreach is our second highest. Referrals is number 2 for us, honestly, but there's no, there is no cost on that. We do events and we do a lot of social media and stuff like that. And I do a lot of public facing branding stuff at home. Yeah. So we get I've been a licensed agent forever. So we get lots of people that bring stuff to us. Yeah. And then after that, it's probably PPC, PPL, and then
who do you use for PPC?
The guy's name is Peter Landis. Is just another referral that I got from one of the masterminds that I was in.
I was using what's the big one called? I forgot.
Bateman.
I forgot what the freak the company's called. It's like the biggest one. They're from San Diego.
PPC Force?
Yeah, I was using PPC Force.
Yeah.
Now we're switching to Property Pros.
Okay.
Have you heard of them?
No.
Yeah. I've heard good things about them. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're about to start that. And we tried skip tracing recently from Kind Skip Tracing.
No.
I mean, I don't even say anything.
Yeah. Keep it above board, dude. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What about okay, so you do cold calling still.
Yeah.
Does cold calling still work?
It does. We get a good return on our cold calling. Again, we have our callers in-house. It's not like it's a crazy operation. We have 3 callers right now. They've been with us for a very long time. I think obviously the list that you're pulling, the tools that you're using are important, but it's not as important as especially if you're keeping them internal, holding them accountable, measuring the KPIs, training them, building that's a rough job, dude. Like that's probably the job that is one of the toughest, from just getting your teeth kicked in on the phone every single day. So a lot of it has to do with building a really strong team culture. And I think we've done a great job of that, right? Between our daily huddles, our trainings, our regular meetings with the director of acquisitions to keep them engaged. Yeah. I think they genuinely believe and care in what we're doing. They care in their results. And I think lots of investors think virtual team members are just like plug and play, set it and forget it. And I think that's a huge mistake. It won't work if you're going to bring them on your team. You need to hire a service and let them manage it if you don't want to actually manage them. But they're people too, man. So I think that's where we've done well with our cold callers.
What about, so like you guys do 100 deals a year. How much revenue on just the real estate, not education, do you guys normally do?
Rev for us, I know profits for us was like 1.1 million. Top line rev, I don't know off the top of my head. Okay. But yeah.
Is it usually like 30%?
Yeah, a little bit less than that. I think we're like 22 or 23%.
Okay. So you do like above 4 million in revenue.
Yeah.
Do you, so like on the real estate side, is your goal to make more revenue to drive up the profitability, or are you going to, like, are you happy with what's currently at, or are you going to try to cut expenses to try to?
So it's interesting. Last year, we came on and started this really big development deal that we're doing in Bakersfield. And it's really changed my vision of what I want my real estate company to be.
Hell yeah.
So I'll give you the condensed version of it. So in July, we bought a 78-acre parcel of land in Bakersfield for $1.025 million.
Okay.
We've spent about $50,000 doing the zoning. Well, we didn't have to do any zoning, but like all the engineering work, creating the parcel map, paying for the stuff with the city.
Yeah.
We split the 78 acres. There's a 13-acre portion that's zoned for multifamily and 65 acres zoned for single-family residences. We're able to create 243 single-family lots on the 65-acre portion, and we're in contract to sell those lots for $26.1 million to a national home builder.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's like a life-changing deal for me.
How much? There was so many numbers, bro. Can you give me
$1 million for the land.
Okay.
We split the land and there's 65 acres. That's single family. Okay. We were able to create 243 single family lots on the 65-acre portion.
Okay.
And we're in contract right now to sell all 243 of those lots to a national home builder for $26.1 million.
God damn.
That's what I said. And it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us. They want finished lots. So builders all want finished lots. That's like the gold standard.
What does that mean?
So that means we have to do the grading, all the underground infrastructure, curb, gutter, and basically hand over lots where within 30 days they can start building. So it's going to cost us $10 million to do that.
Oh my God.
Over 4 years, dude. Yeah. It's amazing. So like once you see that, you can't unsee that, dude.
Yeah.
And you know what's even crazier is, we've done so many of these deals. You have to, sometimes it feels like you're carrying like 8 to 10 people on your back across the finish line just to flip one house or wholesale one deal and make like 40 grand.
Yeah.
Or even how much work I've done on this, bro? Do you know how much work I've done on this other deal? Very little, dude.
Really?
Very, very little, because you're working with a higher caliber of people. Like the engineering company that we're hiring is doing a lot of heavy lifting. They're doing the communication with the city. They're doing all of the work as far as the map is concerned. I had to go out and basically just pick up the phone and call all the land acquisitions teams from D.R. Horton and Lennar and all the different people that were buying. And all my old sales instincts kicked in, and we found a builder that was very interested. And that is my goal. To back to the question that you had, is the reason why we've invested so heavily in the team over the last few years is so that can kind of run.
Yeah.
You know, it's never going to run on its own, but me oversight, managing the leadership team, that pays my bills, that pays for the lifestyle, that does all the stuff. And then in parallel and in tandem to that, we're doing more of these land deals. Like I figure we built this machine to find these properties, and we're just aiming it at houses and small multifamily. And we just need to take the lens and aim it at some of these larger deals.
What's interesting. So, okay, well, I want to stay on this deal real quick. So are you going to fund $10 million?
We are. So the way that we structured it was the builder wants to take down 60 lots per year.
Okay.
Over a 4-year period. So every year they're going to buy 60 lots.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first takedown, the way we negotiated it was they're going to release $1 million upfront before we spend anything. So they're going to give us $1 million in cash.
Hell
okay.
Yeah.
Then I've talked to my bank that I do all my banking with, and they're going to fund the balance of what we need to do the first 60 lots, which is going to be about $2.5 million.
Oh shit.
So we get $1 million from the builder. The bank will come in and put up 1.5 million.
Yeah.
We finish those 60 lots, and then they give us $6 million.
Okay.
And then we get whatever that is. That's enough for us to pay for our land acquisitions cost, pay everybody else off. Then we take the profit from that first takedown, the sale of the 60, do phase 2, get another $6 million. Do phase 3, get another $6 million. Do phase 4, get another $6 million. And then, bro, we own the 13 acres of multifamily. We own that free and clear.
Yeah.
And you can build 300 apartments the way it's zoned right now.
Dang.
Yeah.
Are you going to build that?
That's the plan. Now, obviously we've never done it, but you know, we've got a long way to go before we get there. We've got to get through our biggest area of risk is phase 1, right? We've got to get through phase 1. As soon as we sell phase 1, we're basically, we're in the black, dude. You know what I'm saying? So
going to Vegas,
we can self-fund the next 3 phases, dude.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's honestly, that's the best way that I can describe it. Like once you see this, you can't unsee it. So it's like, why are we spending so much time, effort, and energy doing this? I've got my team that can do this.
Yeah.
And my skill set, those relationship capitals, like those types of deals, you've got to be connected with the city, that they have to bless the thing. They've got to want that project, right? It's a higher level type of networking and relationship building that has to happen, that I can't just give to somebody on my team. I've got to be in those meetings. I've got to do some of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
We've done very good job of raising capital in my flipping business. So now we're having discussions with our lenders like, hey, do you want to be involved in this? And because the pie is so big, you know, I'm just paying rate and term on a fix and flip because we typically don't give equity in that. But on something like this, we can give equity on something like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, we can give a piece of the pie, dude. So it's very interesting, man, to see the evolution that's happened, dude.
What about like, as an entrepreneur, how do you feel like you just stumbled across this deal, or did you manifest it, or did you build up to it?
I absolutely manifested it. And when you manifest opportunities like that, those opportunities feel like you just stumble across them or fall into your lap. So funny story, I got this deal because of a broker relationship that I have. The agent that is in my downline at Real Brokerage, the broker that was representing the guy that's now my partner on this, called me while I was getting a haircut. And I almost didn't pick up the call. I was literally getting a haircut and I saw the guy call and I was like, let me call him back. And something said, you know, you get those feelings, dude. It's like, you know, God speaking through you. And it's
Holy
like,
Spirit.
Dude, yeah, that's it, dude. And it's like, man, something said you should answer this call. And I never answer the call when I'm doing it. I just answered it. And he goes, hey, man. He goes, I'm representing a guy. He's got experience doing land. He's got an incredible deal in contract. He had some deals that he thought were going to close that he was going to use to close on this. Those are not closing. He's not going to be able to perform. And he needs $1 million and some change in a few weeks. I know land's not your forte, but are you interested in talking to him? And I said, sure, I'll talk to him. And then I got on the phone with him. I spent like 90 minutes with this guy who's now my partner on this deal, who were also doing some other land things. And I was at first like, why am I getting this call, bro? You know what I mean? Like, why am I the lucky one that's getting this call? And I was trying to poke as many holes as I could through it. And I think there was also a part of me that was like, not ready to do that. Our main business was good. I didn't want to get distracted. I've gotten distracted doing other things before. And I was like, let's just focus on the main thing. And every step of the way with the due diligence process, I was like, damn, this makes sense. And this looks good. And this looks good. And finally we went out there, we did a site visit, we looked at it. And I had to just be okay with, we raised the money from a couple people. We gave them 10% equity in the deal. And then me and my partner retained 90%. So we're splitting 45% each. There's no reality where that land becomes zero, dude. Right. Yeah. So, but in my head, I'm like, worst case scenario, I can sell 7 or 8 of the rentals that I have. I can pay my guys off and I own this. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
If I had to. And if it's like, I'm okay with that, then I'm okay with doing it.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately, that was my decision-making process, dude. I mean, it happened very, very, very fast. It was like that call at the barbershop. A few weeks later, we owned it.
Yeah.
And I never bought 78 acres of land. I've never done entitlement work. I've never done any of this stuff. And I think I'm a big believer in manifestation, and I'm a big believer in the path illuminates as you walk it. So you take the next step, and then the next step after that becomes clear, and then you see, right? And that's exactly how it's happened in my flipping business. That's exactly how it happened when I started buying rentals. That's exactly how it happened when I started buying apartments. And so the framework is the same. And so why would it be any different? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than on one of these other larger deals. And I've had 10 years of flexing the self-confidence muscle and saying like, dude, if I say I'm going to do something, it's going to happen. And that's how I've manifested a lot of these outcomes in my life. And it's pretty cool.
When you say manifesting, are you talking about like, you know, you have a dream or a vision and then you go after it and then God provides, or God gives you an opportunity and you take advantage of it?
I believe that. Yeah.
That's so I'm going to read you a Bible verse real quick. So it's so funny. I posted this morning. So this is in James 1. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." So we're talking about the muscle.
Yeah.
Hold on, it's not done. "So let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt.
Yeah.
Because the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is double-minded and unstable in all they do."
I love that. One of our core values in our company is faith.
Yeah.
And I believe you have to operate with faith in every aspect of your life. And most people want to see the $1 million in their bank account before they call themselves a millionaire. And it has never worked. You have to be a millionaire first internally, and then it eventually will manifest by actions and your thoughts and your beliefs and operating in faith. Every day. I love that, dude.
Yeah. So I was at Funnel Hacking Live.
Yeah.
And Myron Golden was speaking.
Familiar, yeah.
He's good. So he's a big Christian guy.
Yeah.
And then he was just talking about on stage, he was like, you know, because he was talking about your day-to-day, right? So you could live in faith, where everything's going to be great.
Yep.
Or you could live in doubt.
Yep.
Doubt causes anxiety. So when you're doubting, like, man, I don't even know if this deal is going to make money.
Yep.
I don't know if this employee is going to work. I don't know if I should stay with my wife.
Yep.
I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I should do that. You're just manifesting anxiety.
I agree.
Faith produces anticipation, positive anticipation. So let's say like when you were a child, or do you have children?
Yeah.
Yeah. Night before Christmas, they're like, dude, you know, I'm freaking pumped. This is so great. I can't
wait. The presents. Yeah.
Exactly. So day to day, you're living in one of the two. Rather you like it or not, rather you believe it or not, you're living in one of the two.
Yeah.
Then, depending on how you're living is going to affect your hands, your work.
Yep.
Because if let's say you're producing content and you're like, man, no one's going to like this anyways, you're not going to give it the chance. Where if you're living in faith, you're like, I'm going to give this all I got. I'm going to try, and it's going to do great, and I'm going to impact people. That will produce a different outcome. So just like you said, you were like, let me like do my due diligence. Let me like not have doubt. Cause you could have easily been like, dude, I'm not a land guy.
Yep.
I've done it before where I'm like, it's in a market. I don't really know. And then later I pass a deal and they're like, dude, I made $1 million on that deal. I'm like,
yeah. No, I know, dude. Yeah. And it's interesting. And you know what I've done really well, Brian, recently, I think, to find the success that we've had is learn to say no.
Yeah.
And so I do think that it was very much God's hand in that thing kind of nudging. And then we have to learn how to listen to that. Right.
Yep.
And I think the more that I've learned how to listen to that voice, the better the outcomes have happened in my life. Every single time I deviate, I always get my hand burned on the stove, dude. And so that's another thing that it's a muscle that I've learned to grow and flex over time is really getting in tune to that intuition, God's voice, and speaking to us, right? Because I had every reason in the book to say no to that deal, dude.
Yeah.
And
you were busy.
But I've been vision casting for so long that I want to do these other things, right? So like I knew that I was meant to, and I was put on this earth to do more than just what I'm doing right now. I've always had the vision to do larger things, right? And the best way that I can explain it is that when that call came, right, I just felt the little nudge to just take the very next step. Not like it wasn't an overwhelming thing like, yes, buy the deal, but it was like, answer that call. Talk to the guy. Let's set up a Zoom and let's hear his pitch on how we do this. Yes, go down to Bakersfield, walk the site, meet the engineer, see everything that's there. And then after every single step, I just got that little bit of the nudge to move forward. And I've just learned to listen to that, man. And then when I do that, good things happen. So I don't try to overcomplicate it. Man. You know what I mean?
So let's talk to the listener that, they're doing, let's say 100K a year, which is great.
Yeah, it's great.
How do they grow to doing 7 figures just mindset wise? Like what needs to change from being average to being like top 1%?
The work that I do, because we get so many reps in our business on the tactical side of real estate, right? And so I spend way more work internally on mindset, self-improvement. I think they need to become self-aware because lots of times I don't think people understand that this tape that's just running consistently is not really propelling them closer to where they want to go. So they need to understand that this negative self-talk, like Myron was saying, living in doubt, living in fear, living in anxiety, your feelings are usually the GPS that lets you know whether you're on track or not. So if you're feeling stressed and you're always worried or you're always angry or these low vibrational emotions, dude, then you're on the wrong track. So you need to be self-aware of that, right? And then once you become self-aware, you can start to reprogram some of those limiting beliefs. And I really do believe that, our brains are a computer and this subconscious, the tape that we decide to tell ourselves you get to choose. I'm 100% a believer in that. You get to choose whether you tell yourself a story that's uplifting and powerful and it's getting you closer, or you can stay kind of on autopilot in this negative space. Yeah. So self-awareness, once you start seeing and catching yourself doing like the wrong move, saying the wrong thing in those low-level emotions, I've heard Tony Robbins call it a pattern interrupt. You've got to interrupt that thought pattern and we've got to replace it with a different thought pattern. And the analogy that I use is this internal work. It's like a dimmer switch as opposed to a light switch. You don't just sit down and say affirmations. You don't just become self-aware and all of a sudden you just flip the switch and then you see all the light. It's like a dimmer switch that goes up 1% every single day. So you do all this work and you do it for months and it's only going up. It's still kind of hazy and dark and you don't see clear. But if you can stay consistently with it over time, eventually that dark room that you're in is going to enlighten. You'll see the door, you open up, and then you're in another dark room, dude. If you want to continue to do the work, then you can do that. And then and then you decide how far you want to go. Some people, they see the light at one level and then they just stay there, which is totally fine. You know what I'm saying? But it's that process over and over and over and over again, man. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Well, dude, we're going to do a part 2. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, dude.